This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, all right, and good morning to you. Thank you very much for tuning into the program. It's Monday, August the 11th. This is Open Line. I'm your host, Paddy Daly. David Williams is producing the program. Let's get the week off to a flying start. That requires your participation. So, if you're in the St. John's metro region, the number to dial to get in the queue and on the air is 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which is 8626. So let's start with a bit of softball on the world stage. Of course, Team Canada with 5 representatives from this province as a part of that team. The gold medal match and the bronze medal match, they were both cancelled due to weather. I believe it was in Singapore, right? So there was 2 gold medals and 2 bronze medals handed out. Canada comes home with a bronze. They were scheduled to play Japan in the bronze medal game, but coming home with a bronze. Interestingly, on that front, the all-world team, as a result of the competition at the Worlds this year, Bradley Ezekiel on the all-world team. So congratulations to Canada and all the lads from here who were part of that bronze medal winning at the Worlds. Okay, Canada Summer Games. So, curiously, I'm not exactly sure what people mean by the fact that the game should not be going ahead with the fires that are burning across the province. I'm not sure what that means, but anyway, it's brutally hot, and in some areas there may indeed be some air quality concerns. Opening ceremonies were fantastic. I watched them. I didn't go there live. I watched them. They were terrific. And the excitement on the floor with all the athletes from right around the country was palpable, and so brilliant stuff. Off to a good start for Newfoundland and Labrador, though. So, Russell Bowers asked me last week on Friday any particular athletes that I might be following. And, of course, for many who follow along with youth athletics, is Gavin Baggs. In his fourth Canada Games, and he's on the podium for the first time. Absolutely brilliant. Silver medal in the 400-meter freestyle. He's not done. He's got 4 more events in the pool. Then he turns his focus to the track where he's competing in 3 different events. So amazing stuff. Congratulations to Gavin Baggs. And he admits he felt the pressure to get it done, to get a medal. And lo and behold, boom, he got it done. Silver medal. Good for him. Following along a little bit of baseball, basically because I'm a big baseball fan. So Newfoundland and Labrador got off yesterday to a 1-1 start, dropped a 9-3 decision to Nova Scotia, but beat Manitoba 9-7. So still in the mix after day 1, and they play New Brunswick tonight at 7 p.m. at St. Pat's Ballpark. So good luck and go get them. All right, sticking with sports just for one more moment. So at this moment in time, while the youth of the country are participating in the Canada Summer Games, there's a swimmer named Danielle Dors, 22-year-old from Moncton, New Brunswick. She's swimming at the Canadian Short Course Championships in Sherbrooke, Quebec. She's a para swimmer. She broke 3 world records in 3 days at this particular event at the Nationals. Unbelievable stuff. She's got a world record in the 100-meter individual medley. She broke the world record twice on Thursday in the 50-meter butterfly, and she's also got the world in the 50-meter backstroke, set that world record on Friday. 3 world records in 3 days. Not too bad at all. Good for her. Okay, let's keep going. So, you don't need me to tell you about the fires. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary stuff. There's thousands of people who have been evacuated from their homes. The folks who are working to suppress the fires, it's just yeoman service. And be careful, be safe, and thank you very much for what you're doing. All right. So, last week we were talking about the fact that the fine for setting a fire during this province-wide fire ban and the regional states of emergency that are in place, the fine was $75. And for most people, with the absence of common sense, considering how dry it is, $75, people are going to light fires. We were told that the fines might increase somewhere around $50,000. Well, the fines now are up to as much as $150,000 and up to as much as a year in jail. All right, so obviously the province says, we mean business. Fair enough. Some of those fines and potential jail times far exceed the fines and potential jail time for lots of serious crimes. But I suppose, given the fact that even after the bans were announced, people continue to light fires, which is extraordinary. You can call them whatever you like, oblivious or ignorant or idiot, whatever the word is that you choose, but it's just madness. So thankfully, and hopefully we won't go any further insofar as restrictions go. I understand why people are talking about the things like in the province of Nova Scotia, where you can't even go for a walk in the woods. Let's not get into that. I mean, for folks lighting the fires, just stop. Just stop it. And for those who are still hoping that there's no further restrictions imposed, I get where you're coming from. I completely understand. But while living amongst us are people who can see the conditions under their feet, can feel the heat and the relentless heat and the complete absence of any rainfall, of course it's particularly dangerous. So the fines are wild. And you know, people say, well, geez, I mean, I can get caught drunk driving and pay a lesser fine and maybe not go to prison. You're right. Then it's the concept of potential jail time for people who break this or ignore the fire ban. I'm going to put it back out there again. And it's not me saying it, it's the current government themselves talking about imposition of certain consequences if you don't pay a fine, whether it be for a traffic violation or for contraband tobacco or whatever the case may be. It's time to do something about that. And I'm not suggesting we throw people in prison for not paying a traffic ticket. Of course not. I mean, for starters, we've nowhere to put you in the jails. But it's the whole concept of community service. I don't know why people think that's a bad idea. I really, truly don't. I think it's an excellent idea, and we should do something about it. But for those who have been displaced because of the fires, hopefully your home is not burnt to the ground. Hopefully you'll be able to go back to your community as soon as possible. Hopefully we get some rain. And once again, for other provinces who will send some support, whether it be Quebec or Ontario or New Brunswick, we appreciate it, and we will respond in kind if and when we can into the future. But if you want to talk about the fines and the approach the government has taken on that front, we can do it. And yes, if some of these fires and some people in certain parts of the province are talking about it's highly suspicious how so many fires are starting as to whether or not someone is purposefully lighting them, investigate it to the ends of the earth. If you know someone who has done it, and guarantee you, if someone has lit a fire on purpose with the intent of starting a wildfire, someone else knows about it. Do the right thing. This person is not your friend. They're not a friend of anybody. They're an arsonist. They're a criminal. So let's see what we can do about it. Oh, just for context, and some of these fires are massive. And as pointed out by one person, talk about the Kingston fire. It's growing dramatically, apparently not so much overnight, but even if we just take the roundabout number of 4,900 acres or hectares, if you are from St. John's or you are familiar with the geography of the city, here's just for context how big that fire would be. It would stretch from Signal Hill to the southeast tip of Windsor Lake to Rotary Sunshine Park and Bowring Park, roughly. So obviously a massive fire, and we can take it on from any angle if you're so inclined. Okay, let's get into some job numbers from last week. On the national front, not good. After a pretty good jobs report in June, July, the country shed some 40,800 jobs. There's a variety of reasons why, and we can dig into it if you are so inclined once again. In this province, a little bit more encouraging. Unemployment numbers fell to 9.9% in July from 10.5% in June. So nationally, the numbers holding pretty steady at 6.9%. The jobless rate in the city of St. John's fell to 6.7% from 6.8%, so not a lot. But the big concern for many is youth employment. I try to speak with people who are in the position to hire folks, whether it be students or otherwise, especially in the summer months when business does pick up, especially on things like the hospitality sector. Youth employment numbers from ages 15 to 24, the biggest employment drop in July. It's a tough market out there. It is. My kids, for the most part, fall very close to or in that category, as well as many of my family friends have children in that age demographic looking for work and having a hard time securing it. There are some jobs out there that people don't want. Okay. When I speak with people who are hiring, especially in the summer, and I ask them specifically, what has changed? And they say not much, except for the fact that they are wanting to or leaning towards trying to hire people who will be seeking full-time permanent employment. So the cost of training in the job market is very significant. And it's a cost that many who are owning their own business will try to avoid. So if someone comes in that says they're not going back to school in September, they're looking for a job, they're going to stick it out long term, those are the people getting the jobs. But that does not solve or settle the issue for so many of our youth who are looking for a job, especially in the summer months, and can't get it. So that number is very, very stubborn. I'm not sure what the answer is, but employment numbers in this province, Not a bad report. Nationally, not great, even if the employment rate is holding relatively steady at 6.9%. All right, 1 second, sip of coffee. We're back. All right, someone told me via email that I don't talk about issues regarding cost of living, which of course is nonsense because I do. Housing. Couple of things. So there is no longer a mortgage stress test for renewing your mortgage, but there is for getting into the market. We talk about the cost of rent, we talk about the price of homes and the competitive market that it is, but the stress test has been a real onerous task for people trying to get in as first-time home buyers. There's been a bunch of federal programs to try to assist on that front, but that has not been settled because how many people struggling to come up with the down payment, number one, and if you look at median earnings in this country and trying to buy a home, let's just use round numbers as $400,000, it can take median earners years of saving, which is very difficult for the most part for most median earners in the country, years to come up with a down payment. Then you see, whether it be your parents or your grandparents, cashing in some of the equity of their own home to assist you, which might indeed be good for the economy, but of course has long-term consequences for folks who are cashing in on some of their equity of their own home to try to help their children or their grandchildren. Next in housing is what people are calling Horizons 106. Most people know it as the Comfort Inn, Airport Road here in the city of St. John's. So the concept of transitional housing makes sense to me. Homelessness comes with an exorbitant cost on a variety of fronts. I'm almost tired of pointing to it, but even if you just look at healthcare, which me and you pay for, it's not free, it's universal. The study done at the University Hospital in Toronto, when we talk about people who are housed versus folks who are homeless, the numbers are clear. Those who are homeless with their chronic underlying conditions spend twice as long in hospital, consequently cost twice as much. So we got to get this right. Whether or not you think the province is on the right track with the concept of transitional housing, we can talk about it. But now we know that when the province decided to lease the Comfort Inn versus try to buy the Comfort Inn, and we know they didn't even consider it. How do I know that? Because I asked the minister responsible that question on this program. Did we consider buying it? The answer was no. Now here we go. The property's since been sold. And now consequently, the province has to go to the market, has issued an RFP to try to come up with the next follow-up solution, given the fact that the Comfort Inn or Horizons 106 looks like it's going by the wayside. They talk about looking for a partner or partners to create and operate 60 units of transitional and supportive housing. Tony Wakeham, of course, leader of the PCs, has talked about bringing in the Auditor General to examine the original deal. And fair enough. I appreciate the work the Auditor General does. But it continues to beg the question, how and why did we not examine buying a property? It's the exact same thing can be associated with the old Costco building on Stavanger Drive. It was for sale. A private company bought it. We are paying for the renovations. We're paying for an extended lease, which no question in anybody's mind who's looked at the math, had we bought it and paid for the renovations of our own accord with our own tax dollars, we'd be ahead of the game. So I'm just mind-boggled as to how we find ourselves in that particular circumstance, but if you want to take it on, we can do it. All right. I guess, thankfully, the whole concept of the fixed link has a reinvigorated conversation. It's certainly in my email inbox and with some calls on this program. People get cross when we point to the numbers, but this will only be decided based on numbers. That's what it will be. It won't be necessarily political, even though there's always politics involved with these massive infrastructure programs. We don't know whether or not it has been further broached by Premier Hogan with the Prime Minister regarding all these nation-building projects, but we don't need to examine that much further, given the fact that the Liberals have already told us it's a nation-building project. And that definition, I'll leave it up to you. I'm only bringing forward the numbers that we have. That's all. I know the next logical step in this process is to go to the market to see who's willing and wanting to build it, what they think it's going to cost, and their predicted volume of traffic, because that will be the business model, because it will be a P3 and there will be a toll. So I know someone wants to call about it again today, and I enjoyed the fixed link conversation because for a while it was all the rage. Whether it be folks on the Great Northern Peninsula or the South Coast or in Labrador or the potential for additional tourism traffic, we can take it on. In addition to the whole concept of Marine Atlantic and how it is or is not working, if you want to talk about it, we can do it. All right. For some reason, someone wants me to talk about the by-election in Battle River Crowfoot. It's important. I mean, Pierre Poilievre is the leader of the party, currently without a seat after losing his federal riding that he's had for, what, I think 7 successive elections in Ontario, and he's running Alberta. I mean, that district went to Mr. Corrick, the CPC candidate. I think he got 82% of the votes. So there's no reason to think Mr. Poilievre is not going to win in this by-election, which comes up on the 18th. Advanced polls are open. The one point people are making is that there's something either awry or a problem associated with this long ballot. And look, I think there's over 200 candidates. And in some part, it feels a bit ridiculous. I understand that. How that can keep anybody, including your preferred candidate, from winning, I don't understand. All you have to do is find their name and their party affiliation, put the X where you're supposed to put the X, and Bob's your uncle. But the concept of trying to make it harder for people to run is also a strange position to take, in my personal opinion. I mean, isn't the want for the most of society is to make it easier for people to run for elected office? Look, I know that a ballot that is taller and longer than me is a consideration that we should be, our conversation we should be considering. But making it more difficult, I'm not so sure what we benefit from that particular strategy. But anyway, yes, that by-election is on and the advanced polls are open. And yes, there's no reason to believe a Conservative candidate's not going to win in the heartland of Conservative politics in that province and in this country. So 82% went to Mr. Corrick. And yeah, there's something to be asked about what he was gaining by giving up his seat for Mr. Poilievre's opportunity to get back into the House of Commons. Anyway, you want to take it on, we can do it. How are we doing on the phone, Dave? We're off to a bit of a start here. All right, and look, anything under the sun, from the biggest issues on the face of the earth regarding Ukraine and what's going on in Gaza and some of the most recent commentary associated with that particular conflict, we're up for it. We're on Twitter. We're VOCM Open Line. You know what to do. Follow us there. I think it's probably worth my while and your while and for all of us to consider what we see and deducing whether or not it's real or fake. And the whole concept of artificial intelligence, I'm going to keep beating the drum because, yes, there are going to be huge advantages in many arenas of society using artificial intelligence. Now, it soaks up way too much power for it to be worth its while, but what we're seeing that's generated by AI is becoming more and more flagrant. Now, that's probably a poor choice of words. It's more and more prevalent. What we don't know is how we're going to get to a place where when artificial intelligence is used to generate, whether it be a meme or whatever it is, or a video or an audio file, it's for it to not be labeled as AI generated is going to be a bigger problem in the future. And I think we're going to have to grapple with it very soon, if not today, what it means inside the education system in this country. To pretend that the country's youth are not using large language models like ChatGPT to take some of the stress off of their workload, academically speaking, I think is just burying our head in the sand. And it's going to be a problem. Take it from the folks at MIT. When they talk about trying to write an essay for your SATs, 3 control groups, one using ChatGPT, one using Google, one just using their brain, the outcomes were crystal clear. Anyway, you want to take that on, we can do it. We are on the Twitter box, as I said, we're VOCM Open Line. We're taking your emails. It's openline@vocm.com. When we come back, let's kick off the week with a great show. That means you're in the queue. Just like a caller, talk about doctor shortages up in Lab West. Then we're going to talk about some of the issues regarding the forestry and being reimbursed or some sort of financial support coming from either the feds out in Adams Cove. We talk about the disaster relief and or the provincial government who said they'd come to your aid and they haven't so far. Anyway, let's take that on and whatever you want to talk about right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. I think I had seen this, but it just fell out of my mind, is the considerations at the by-election on Battle River Crowfoot. So the concerns with the long ballot and people who apparently can't find a name that they're looking to vote for. Now they're going to do it just like an advance poll, like a special ballot. You go ahead and write the name in yourself. So that should be the end of the concern offered by folks in that riding. What do you think? All right, let's see here. Let's begin this morning on top of the board, line number 1. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I'm a little bit nervous.
You take your time. Go right ahead.
I went at the hospital in Labrador West on Friday night, very sick lady. I was there for 9 hours, and anyway, after the 9 hours, that the nurse came out and she said we got 5 or 6 emergencies inside, and we can't pull anybody else in because we got a very, very sick people inside. So anyway, after the 9 hours, I came home. Very, very sick lady. Came home, and while I was at the hospital, she came out twice and gave me pills for my pain. I have a big medical problem. I have to have a doctor. I don't have a doctor. I had a doctor for 41 years, and he took sick. And I don't have a doctor now. So in Labrador West, our doctors, we got 4 doctors in Labrador West. The nurses work very, very hard, and the doctors. So I think the government should really, really look at Labrador West because, we don't have anything. We don't have anything in Labrador West. We have 4 mines in Labrador West, and we have 4 doctors. So do you tell me if this is right? I think the government got to do something with Labrador West right now. I think they should get on the ball right away today because, I went over there, a very, very sick person, but I still haven't seen a doctor. So, I just don't know what to do anymore. I just don't know what to do anymore.
Right. For starters, how are you feeling today?
I'm not well because I got a really a medical problem. I'm a senior, and but we can't blame it on our hospital. We can't blame it on our doctors. We can't blame it on our nurses because they work very, very hard. The government, we have to blame it on the government because they're going to have to bring doctors in our area, and that. But I just got on, not complain. I just want to get on to rise my opinion as a senior in Labrador West and going to doctors and can't see a doctor.
I understand. I think it's a similar conversation in other parts of rural remote Newfoundland and Labrador and rural remote Canada. It's becoming increasingly difficult. By the look of things, I try to look around the country at other smaller parts of, whether it be Alberta, Ontario, Quebec, BC, whatever the case may be. All provinces are putting forward a bunch of financial incentives, including in this province, for family doctors specifically and other healthcare professionals to live and to work in places like Lab West and having a devil of a time. And I think there's a bunch of reasons why. I mean, if we talk to, say, the NLTA regarding teachers, if we speak with NL Health Services and the Medical Association, there's a bunch of reasons inside the calculation for a doctor or a nurse or whoever to work in Lab West or anywhere else. It's things like housing. And if they can't find housing, then people aren't going to move. If there's the issue regarding the cost of travel in and out, that's a consideration that I think some of these healthcare pros use when they decide whether or not they want to take a job. So for you, in your position as a senior citizen who's unwell, what do you think the government should be doing that they're not doing to try to bring some doctors back to your area?
They don't do nothing for Labrador West. We had Jordan Brown, but he gave up. He was fighting for us in Labrador West. I must say, he was fighting for us. But I don't know where to turn. As good many like me don't know where to turn because the government don't even look at us in Labrador West. They don't even look at, okay, wow, we need doctors in Labrador West. What are you going to do with 4 doctors? We got Fremont, Labrador City, Wabush. What are you going to do? You got no doctors. You got no doctors, 4 doctors. And it's frightening. It's frightening. I've been here for 55 years in Labrador West. The last 2 years, I never had a doctor. He took sick. And I'm scared. Okay?
I understand. I do.
Yeah.
I wonder what people think. I've said this a few times. Some people push back, but I'll throw it out there again. Is when it comes to things like access to healthcare and childcare and education and housing, for the companies that reap enormous profits from operations in Labrador, I wonder should they play a bit more of a role, especially on housing, not necessarily on healthcare, because, I mean, I'm not expecting a private company to hire a doctor necessarily, but when it comes to childcare and for housing and the like, I think the corporations also play a role, or at least they should. What do you think?
I definitely, 100% the government, I mean, this is a rich town in our towns is a rich town with
Absolutely.
all those mines in our towns. 4 doctors. Come on. This is outrageous. All those big taxes going out of... I pay taxes. I'm a senior. I still pay taxes. All of this taxes going out of Vermont, 3 mines in Labrador West. It is ridiculous. And I'm not a complainer. I'm a very patient person. I'm not a complainer. But today, I had to get on opening line and tell you my story because, one of these days, if something going to happen drastic and we don't have a doctors here in our town.
I completely understand where you're coming from, and I hope you're going to be okay.
Thank you very much for listening to my program, and I'm so excited that I put this very, very thing out this morning. It's serious, very serious. And thank you for listening to me, and it's much appreciated.
It's my pleasure. Take good care.
Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. That was me. I think she hung up before I even had a chance. All right, here. So it's a fair conversation. Specifically on housing, I really do firmly believe that the corporations, whether it be through the benefits agreements, as opposed to just a strict reliance on royalties coming from the mining sector that go straight into government coffers, whether or not it's a good idea for the benefits agreement to also include things like the provision of housing. I mean, the best part or the best outcome for the region and for the province at large is if we have not work camps, fly in, fly out, but if people are living and working in the area. And so with the provision of housing, if just imagine the royalty that would be used, for instance, to build, say, pick a number, a 60-unit apartment building. That would initially house employees working at one mine or one operation or another, and that would remain in the ownership of the province even after the mine is done. With constant upkeep and renovations and modernization, just makes sense to use some of the monies as opposed to just at the whim of government from the Treasury if it had very specific purposes baked into the benefits agreement. I don't know what you think about that, but we can talk about that or whatever you want right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 5. Adam, you're on the air.
Hey, how's it going?
Okay, how about you?
Oh, not too bad. Just trying to get a bit of work done before it gets too hot to work outside again. So I was just going to have a chat. I know there's been a lot of conversation lately about the fixed link for Labrador.
There has been, yeah. I think mostly reinvigorated based on things like Marine Atlantic and the cutting of passenger fares but not commercial fares and our contact or our link to the mainland. So I think that's been part and parcel why people are thinking and talking more about the fixed link these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's necessary. I think it's a great idea. I do have some concerns about the way that I've heard them talking about going about it. Like, is it still the plan that they're going to do like a rail tunnel? Is that the base plan?
That has been the most recent proposal, yes.
In my opinion, if that's what they're planning on doing, I don't think there's any point in even doing it. I mean, if we're trying to make like an accessible link between Newfoundland and Labrador, Newfoundland and the mainland Canada, and they're trying to make it efficient and, to help traffic onto and off of the island and stuff like that. I think people should be able to just come and go. I mean, if you're going to be just making a rail link through a tunnel, I mean, that's just going to be, you're not going to be able to just come and go as you please. It's going to be the same as Marine Atlantic. You're going to have to book an appointment, book a crossing, wait for your car to get loaded on, and all that kind of stuff. So I think we're just going to be introducing a new thing that can have problems in the future. We're going to have the same capacity issues and things like that. And I mean, right now they're talking about the potential for adding another vessel for the Marine Atlantic crossings. But I mean, if that rail tunnel becomes at max capacity, it's not going to be as simple as adding another train to the tunnel. You're going to have to build a second tunnel, which is not going to be feasible.
I'd love to have someone from Arup. That's the most recent numbers we have is from an engineering company called Arup after the Hatch report in 2018. I'd like to understand a bit more about this rail system issue. Of course, I'm the furthest thing from an expert on that front, but why would it be anything simpler than just having a tunnel if and when it ever gets built, and I drive my vehicle in like I'm going through an underpass around Bowring Park? What is the issue regarding a rail system? I don't even understand the whole concept, to be honest with you, as opposed to simply treating it like a bridge, like the Confederation Bridge. I drive my vehicle in, whether it be a transport truck or my pickup truck, and I just go. I don't even understand why that's a thing.
Yeah, I think that's the only way to go about it, really. If you're going to be putting the tunnel in there, why go about this whole extra step of adding a rail-based system inside the tunnel? If you're going to have to put the tunnel through anyway, so why don't you just do it in a way that vehicle traffic can travel through it?
I don't know. I mean, if you read the report, which I did, they simply say it is the least expensive option. So based on exactly what? I can't remember if I saw any cost comparisons with just simply building a tunnel that is, in essence, just an underground highway, as opposed to an 18-kilometer rail system. I'm going to see if I can't get some from Arup. I think I have the name of one of the co-authors of the paper. I'm going to chase that a little bit and get someone, get the information right from the horse's mouth, as they say.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to know, what is the justification of why they're planning about going about it that way. Because like I said, if you're going to do a rail system, I mean, there's going to have to be an operator of the rail system. You're going to have to book a crossing with them. It'll be the same as Marine Atlantic, where you'll have to, you'll have capacity issues. You'll have to try to wait for vehicles to get loaded on board and wait for specific crossing times rather than being able to just, when you arrive at the mouth of the tunnel, just keep driving. I don't really understand what the benefit is to a rail system.
I'm not sure either. But, we can talk about least expensive option, so says Arup. But then the comparison to what it would cost to have it work or look different, I don't know. But I'd really like to get someone on to explain the calculus behind these assertions brought forward in the report. And I mean, the numbers have changed dramatically. And again, this is not a new conversation. This is as old as Joey Smallwood. So no one's ever done much beyond just give it a definition as a nation-building project, or to say it's a good thing, or to say it's required. I mean, even just the completion of Route 138, apparently that number has been updated to be somewhere in and around $3 billion, I saw. I'm like, $3 billion? It can't be that much. But those are the numbers floating around. So myself and Dave are going to see if we can't get one of those co-authors to come on the program and help us break it down into more easy to understand bite-sized morsels.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd like to get more information on it for sure.
Yeah, me too. Anything else you want to talk about this morning, Adam?
No, that's it for me this morning.
Appreciate your time.
Perfect, thank you.
Take care, Adam. Bye-bye. It's a fair question. We're told just in simple terms, the least expensive option is this rail tunnel as opposed to just a tunnel, like an underpass, as 18 kilometers under the sea floor, obviously. But yeah, it'd be nice to know a bit more on that front. Let's keep rolling here. Let's go to line number 4. John, you're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. Big fan of your show, and I appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate your time.
So I wanted to call. I've noticed just in the last few days, the City of St. John's official Facebook page has been sharing and directing the public to Danny Breen's personal electoral page for mayor, sharing his personal posts and promoting his campaign. Is this standard practice?
I don't know, but if, as a taxpayer here in the City of St. John's, if I go to their website or their Facebook page or wherever, I just want information. I don't want to talk about any particular candidate running for re-election or a new candidate who's going to be on the ballot for the first time. That's not what I'm going there for. I'm going there for recycling information or for dump information or for garbage collection. I'm not talking about the politics of it all. I agree with you.
Or the games. I mean, I'm a big supporter of the games. I think we should go on and be able to see the games. But in the last couple of days, I've seen And in particular, there's 2 pictures I've seen. I don't know how many other posts there's been. There's 2 pictures of showing Danny Breen elect Breen for mayor, and I think that's a direct conflict of interest. Personally, as a voter here in the St. John's area, I think it's a disgrace.
As we are talking, I have not seen it because I will admit I spend very little time on Facebook when I don't have to be doing it to look for actual information. Let's see here if I can see what you're looking at. City of St. John's. Okay, no, this is City of St. John's, Michigan. That's not going to do it. All right, I'll have a look when I get a bit more time here. But the bottom line for me is, a couple of quick questions. Like, is there someone running against Danny Breen for the mayor's chair? Sheila O'Leary, though, she's running for the NDP in the provincial election. Oh, Ivy Hanley's running opposed to Danny Breen. So if Danny Breen, the current mayor, is able to have his re-election hopes posted on the city's Facebook page, so should Ivy Hanley. But ultimately, I would suggest neither one of them should be able to put it there.
Well, I totally agree. I think it should be fair. In my opinion, it's the political advertising on the city's dime. The municipal government should be unbiased. Shouldn't be a referee. It should be a referee and not a player. You know what I mean? And I've seen these posts. I've seen the second post last night, and the first one shared his direct Facebook page with a picture saying "elect Danny Breen," and that's what got me. That's what kind of started to boil my blood, because I don't believe that should be anything from the city of St. John's, which is public. It's a public platform, and I don't think it should be biased in any way.
Yeah. So let's just take this a step further. Even if you're someone who supports Danny Breen, and fair enough, and you plan on voting for Danny Breen in October, okay. But into the future, there might be a mayoral candidate who you do not support. So do you at that point want to have that person's campaign page featured on a city website or Facebook page? The short answer to that is no. So nip it in the bud. If it's something you favor today, it might be something you're not in favor of tomorrow. So let's just not allow it. It shouldn't be part of it, because those pages are for information, not about the politics of one candidate or another. I'm with you 100%. I didn't even see it, but I'm going to have a look for it, John.
All right. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and I just wanted to bring that to the public's attention, because I listen to your show every day, and I think your listeners should be aware of that. Absolutely right.
We could extend that to provincial government web pages and Facebook pages, federal government official websites and Facebook pages. It should be for the information, for the actual operations of government, not the political operations.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter if it's provincial, federal, it doesn't matter. It should still be the same standard practice.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, and I had not seen it, but I freely admit I spend as little time as possible on social media these days, just because it's really overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, well, I'm vested into this election, in all elections. I'm a voter.
Mm-hmm.
I like to express my democratic right, and I just seen this online, and I thought that the public should know.
100%, John. I really appreciate making time for the show, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. That's a fair point. I didn't know that was going on, to be honest with you. And again, just to reiterate, this is not about Danny Breen necessarily. This is just about pragmatic operations of web domains. They're important. It's the real go-to for a lot of people to get just some basic information. And in this case, the City of St. John's, what's going on, whether it be the summer games or anything else here. So if you support Breen, that's fine by me. If you don't, also fine by me. But into the future, if it's something you like today, you might not like it tomorrow. So let's just avoid it. Let's simply not do it. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, Tony's there to respond to Adam regarding the proposed rail link. There's a caller that wants to talk about forestry and the wildfire shutdown. Richard wants to talk about a wheelchair-related matter. And then we're speaking with you. Don't go away. Back to the program. Let us go to line number 3. Richard, you're on the air.
Morning, Paddy.
Morning to you.
Yes, I got a issue now, Paddy, with a little while back. I'm a sick-time caller, and I'm having trouble now with my mobile wheelchair. I brought it to the Central Medical, and they said there's an issue with it, with a code or something, and they can't get it apart from it. So I was wondering if I'm looking for another one if I can.
Okay, so it can't be repaired, or the repairs are too costly, or what's the issue there, Richard? Pardon me?
Well, yeah, they said they can't. There's no more parts for it.
Okay.
There's no more parts for it, and I'm here now. I'm still in the same spot that I can't get out, enjoy the weather, nothing like that.
Okay. So basically, you need some support in trying to get a replacement for your now broken mobility wheelchair.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Okay. So just a couple of things that you might be able to try. There's a possibility you might have some luck if you call the hub here in the city of St. John's. There's also a possibility you might have some luck if you call the Canadian Red Cross, because sometimes they will have this type of equipment on hand for either loan or rent or lease or just to give you. So I tried those two, or have you already tried?
No, I never tried, no. But the one now that I got now, Patty, a little while back, that I got the one from the hub.
Okay, so you've already dealt with the hub once. Every now and then, I hear from folks at the hub, whether it be Tom or Walter, they call the show, talk about some of the things they have on hand, other devices, walkers and canes and wheelchairs and the like. So give another shot. You never know. You might have some luck there. If not, they might be able to put you onto another direction.
Okay, thanks, Patty.
Good luck with it, Richard. Let me know how you make out.
Buddy. I will, yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
Good man. Stay in touch.
Okay, I will.
All right, bye-bye. And if Tom or Walter or anybody else who's at the hub and is familiar with exactly what's on hand, if you give me the updated information, I'll be happy to share it. Let's go to line number 2. Good morning, Naman. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you this morning?
Very well. Thanks for asking. How about you? And it's Naaman, is it?
It's Naaman, yes.
Naaman, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, actually, right now I'm calling here because we got a couple of wood contractors here in this area, and I know we got the fireman on, and everybody have been shut down. I understand that everything is quite dry, and that and one thing and another. What they're concerned about is who is going to subsidize their lost time. You know, these guys are going to lose a lot of money. They got equipment rental or payments. They got upkeep of equipment. Probably because it's a very long to shut down, they're not going to reach their timber quotas. Therefore, they're going to lose money at that. I'm just wondering if the government have considered, subsidizing these workers. We got probably 3, 4, 5 contractors here on the Northern Peninsula in the Rodditon, Plum Point area, Mainbrook area. And, these guys are concerned, what's going on? How long are we going to be out? Can the government give us any subsidy to help pay our bills while we're out, out of the woods? They're complying with a provincial injunction against them that they can't go in and operate because of the dry conditions, which is understandable. And, I'm just wondering if there's anything, if Mrs. Dempster or or Mr. Hogan can answer, some of these questions for these people. It's, it's a concerning issue here in this area. And it's the only industry that we have. And with it shut down, it's a lot of lost revenue, not only for the contractors, but also for the community itself.
Of course. I don't know the answer to the question as to whether or not there's any support coming for industry that is unable to proceed given the conditions. But to be honest, I didn't know that commercial forestry operations had been shut down because of the ban.
Well, I talked to one of the contractors, as a matter of fact, on Thursday or Friday, and he told me that they have been told that they have to stop operations because of the conditions, and that. So that's what I'm hearing from the contractor. So I said that I would voice it today on your program, Patty, and see what kind of response I can get there from the government, either from the Minister of Forestry and Agriculture or from the Premier himself. These guys are concerned. They've been told to come out of the woods, from my understanding, from talking to one of the local contractors here this week. And, they are concerned. Like I said, they got bills to pay. They got families to feed. And, they're losing production. And if you lose production, as you know and I know, they lose money.
Yeah, and it has a ripple effect, right? So it's the individual's own wages, it's the company's revenue and or profit, it's the money that won't be spent at the local shops and the like. So yeah, all of these things have an impact beyond just one person's earnings. But I don't, as I said, I don't know the answer, but I can try to get it. I'm not even sure I heard specific mention of commercial forestry operations from the government. I've heard plenty of people say, hey, why tell me that I can't, it hasn't happened in this province as of yet, but why tell me that I can't go in with my own ATV, for instance, and have a spin in the woods versus some of the risks associated with these commercial logging operations. So I hadn't heard it, but I will zip off an email. It's probably only going to be information we can get from whether it be the Department of Finance or Treasury Board or the Premier's office. The Department of Forestry is pretty much an operational issue as opposed to a subsidy pot of money department. But I'll see what I can find out. That's a good question.
And something else there, I'd like to go back and touch on something that the lady there from Labrador West brought up there about healthcare in Labrador West. Like, I'm here in rural Newfoundland, and our healthcare here in Roddickton have went down substantially, over the last few years, and not only in Labrador West. I mean, we almost got our healthcare here in Roddickton area right now is just all we got is a walk-in clinic. Really, we don't have. I think we got one doctor here that serves something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 6 communities here on the east side of the Northern Peninsula. And it's not only a concern in Labrador West, but our health care seems to be a concern right across the province, Patty. And it's getting to the point where it becomes frustrated. I have a daughter that has to drive to St. Anthony every day just to get a prescription.
Yeah, no. Look, the healthcare issue is obviously very, very real. There's lots of great professionals working in the healthcare system. Once you get in, it's probably going to be, for the most part, excellent treatment and bedside manner. But the wait times and the geographical challenges that people experience in this province and around the country is obviously very, very real. What I have a hard time understanding is we're told there are more doctors and more nurses working in this province today than ever before. And yet, the concerns regarding wait times, and yet the issue regarding access to primary care, whether it be family doctor or otherwise, is maybe getting better, but nowhere close to the way it should be working.
I don't even think the province is in the ballpark right now, because actually, speaking on with the medical issues and emergencies, I just had a brother-in-law that had an heart attack, and it's probably going to take him 10 to 12 days to get from St. Anthony into St. John's to see a specialist. Now, in my opinion, Patty, there's definitely something wrong with this picture.
Yeah, I mean, no argument here. I think into the future, what we see in rural parts of the country, if it's bad today, it's likely only going to get worse. And why I say that is because the healthcare professionals are in such high demand, and they're very mobile, and they can pick and choose exactly where they want to work in this country or around the world, that for people, look, I mean, there's going to be some, let's just say doctors. There's going to be some doctors who are maybe born and raised in rural and remote Canada, and they're more than happy with that lifestyle, more than happy to go back to where they came from to provide those healthcare services. But for others, whether it be the money they make and amenities they'd like to be close by and the issues for cost of travel in and out and access to housing that they want, I think what we see is just going to be a bigger problem into the future. Certain provinces are tackling it a little bit differently. Like they've set up rural training hubs, like for instance in Cape Breton, to try to service rural Nova Scotia. In Alberta, they're doing the same thing. They're bringing the training to where people are, because I think it just makes sense. The folks who are most inclined to work in rural Canada are folks from rural Canada. Now, that's a broad generalization that I know is not a great way to talk about things, but I think it's more likely that if from a small town in Alberta or Ontario, Quebec, or this province, I'm probably more likely to go work there than someone who's from Toronto or Vancouver or Calgary or St. John's. I know that's not 100% the case, but I don't think I'm too far off. What do you think?
No, I think you're right, Patty. Because we don't have, like you said, the housing, neither do we have the structures, like, the big shopping malls that people are used to. We don't have the attractions in rural Newfoundland. But I know the government probably is trying to do it with subsidizations and whatever, to get people into rural Newfoundland, but it doesn't seem like it's working. So, I got, like myself right now, I'm a senior. I'm not old, but I'm a senior. And, I know that, down the road, I'm going to need health care. I thank God right now that I don't, and that. But, I see my mother as in a long-term care home here on the Northern Peninsula. And, they need medical attention and they need doctors, and especially with an aging population, even more so in the future, Paddy.
I completely understand where you're coming from, and the strategies that different provinces are trying are working in some form or fashion, but not the way that. Look, I mean, there's a political victory here for any politician, any party, if they can provide. When I hear people say that the government doesn't care, I'm not so sure that really makes a whole lot of sense to me. Can you imagine how many votes you'd win because of, say, for instance, delivering X doctor to X department in X community? I mean, that's one of the top of the mind issues for most voters. It really, truly is. Obviously, the economy and taxes and all the rest of it. But access to primary care is a big, obvious deal. Naaman, I really appreciate the time, sir. I got to get to the news break, but you're always welcome.
Okay, we'll chat again probably sometime in the future, Patty.
I look forward to it. Same to you. Bye-bye. And, just a small clarification. Obviously, some companies, including companies that operate in Labrador, mining and otherwise, they may indeed have rotational nurses coming in and out and maybe have doctors on staff, whether it be locums or otherwise. But if you're a company, and that does happen, and people are absolutely right to point that out, but of course that would only be access to those healthcare professionals if you work in the company or at the company. Let's see here. Let's take a break. Don't go away. Welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 5. Good morning, Frank. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, Frank.
Not bad, Petty. How are you, boy?
Best kind.
I'm calling about the fines.
Okay.
So the fines now are what for starting the fire and then fire pit?
Well, there's, first offense, second offense, but it can be up to $150,000 and up to a year in jail.
Up to $150,000.
Yep.
So here I am. I'm welfare. Gets me checked, goes out and gets 2,000 beer, and I'm going to have a fire pit there in the front yard. And you're going to give me $150,000 fine.
That's
and
what
I'm going to stay on welfare for the rest of my life, buddy. How are you going to get the money, Paddy?
Well, for the vast majority of people, $150,000 is way out of reach. Like if I got a $150,000 fine, I'd end up in the clink because I don't have the money to pay it. And I guess that's the point.
Right.
They're making it so harsh, so severe that they hope that people will just simply not light a fire.
They're hoping. What about all the cars going around with no insurance, Betty? When you get caught with no insurance, you get a $2,300 fine. That's what it was. And if you can't afford insurance, you can't afford a $2,300 fine. Is that right around?
Well, that's probably right. I mean, but for me, though, like if someone's driving around without a license or registration or insurance and their argument is they can't afford it, well, that's sort of besides the point. I mean, the fact of the matter is you're required by law to have them. So, the cost issue, I get it. If it's cost prohibitive for someone and they still need to get where they're going, fair enough, but there's a reason why we require people to have insurance on their vehicles.
Oh,
so,
that's right, Paddy, but they're getting off subject. Now, the thing being what I'm getting at is
okay.
we were all young at one time.
Yes.
At one time, we were all young.
Uh-huh.
So you had an old car out there that you paid $400 or $500 for. You're going to go out and jump aboard and go out. Let's face the facts. So why don't they come down with the fines, give somebody a chance to pay it, straighten their lives up, and get on with it? And then at the end of the year, the government is owed this much money. The government's owed that much money. We got someone here owes $40,000 worth of tickets. We got someone owes $50,000 worth of tickets. Are they going to get a petty?
Probably not. You know, there's that
they're not.
that concept you can't get blood out of a turnip, but
And they're putting that person on welfare for the rest of their life, so they're paying them. And they're running out and buying another $400 or $500 car, and they're going out again.
it shouldn't happen though. I mean,
It shouldn't happen. No, I know it shouldn't happen. The thing shouldn't happen. The fine should be lower. At least that way you give them a chance to pay the fine and straighten up their life.
I don't know if there's a mechanism available, whether it be for a outstanding traffic fine and or a ignoring the fire ban fine, to work out some sort of payment plan with the government. I don't even know if that's going to be a thing they consider in the future.
$50,000, $150,000. Work out a payment plan on that, but work out a payment plan on that on somebody on welfare. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Work out the payment plan.
I guess
You
one
won't be
sure.
able to get a license no more. You won't be able to get a license no more. You won't be able to get their GST no more. You won't be able to get this no more. You won't be able to get that no more. Because you have the government money. So you're putting them on welfare for the rest of their lives.
One surefire way to be able to avoid that.
The bunch in the government that comes up with these terrific fines, amount of fines, there got to be something wrong with them. There got to be something wrong with them. All right, it was $75. Why not put it up to $200?
Well, I mean, just from where I sit, is a surefire way to avoid the fine for starting a fire during a province-wide fire ban is simply just don't start a fire. I mean, that we're not really
Petty,
asking people.
I know that. Petty, I'm not son, Petty. I know that.
Yeah, I know you know that.
Petty.
Yeah, I just don't like. I mean, there's plenty of examples
Well,
where.
they say that the fella gets half drunk and he's going to have a fire pit in his yard. He's going to have the fire pit. He's going to go ahead with it. He got nothing in his name. He got nothing to lose. He's probably living in Newfoundland and Labrador housing. He got nothing to lose. The man that got something to lose is the man that got to listen, got to go by the law. The fella that got nothing in his name and got nothing to lose, he got nothing to worry about.
Well, he might have something to worry about.
What
I
do
mean,
you got to worry about, Betty? Live on the welfare the rest of his life, 4 or 5 youngsters, lots of baby mamas, lots of welfare coming in, and better all, baby.
I appreciate the time, Frank. Thanks for calling.
I appreciate it too, Betty. Bye.
Stay in touch, man. Appreciate it. All right. See you, Frank. I mean, look, people can give me examples of where government goes too far, and I get it. But if the one rule here is considering the extraordinary risk of a fire getting out of control, is I just think if we're talking about a world where common sense is really not as common as it maybe once was, but let's just not light any fires. I mean, if you've ever had a fire in your backyard or along the pond or the river or wherever or in the woods, you may indeed think that you're completely prepared to control that fire if and when something happens. But even just a backyard fire pit with a couple of birch junks in, the embers that just float around, I mean, we've all seen it. Everyone's seen a fire. So the embers can get away from you in a hurry. And right now, one ember that gets away from your backyard fire can be a problem. Not because I say so, but because of the extent of the fires that we are seeing in the province right around the country. Just from my perspective, it doesn't sound like a lot to ask for, at this moment, to not start a fire. You know, we're not talking about you can't go in the woods for a walk. We're not talking about you can't go fishing. We're not talking about you can't go berry picking. We're not talking about how you can't go on your quad. You can do a lot of stuff. But just not purposefully, willfully starting a fire during these times doesn't sound like a big ask to me. You might have a different opinion. You're welcome to share it on the program. But we're going to take a break. We might go back. Tony's in the queue to respond to Adam on the conversation we had regarding the perspective or the proposed potential for a fixed link. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 3. Tony, you're on the air.
Hey, Paddy. How's it going today?
Doing very well, thank you. How about you?
Good. Great, thanks. According to this, as regards to the fixed link going across in the tunnel, you can't have free cars driving through because there's too high of a risk of an accident. Like when you have a rail system, is controlled. So the operator of the train engine is, well trained in order to do this, right? So he knows what to do. Not to say that is never without risk, right? But the risks are mitigated and controlled. If you just have a bunch of, Joe public driving back and forth through an 18-kilometer tunnel, if someone breaks down, if someone has an accident, loses, they're distracted by something and plows into another vehicle, the risk to life is enormous. There have been some very well documented cases, particularly in Europe, where they use tunnels, and even in tunnels that go through mountains that are only less than a kilometer. There have been some very, very tragic consequences when, there was a traffic accident sort of thing and fire erupted. There's no way to get the people out or get emergency vehicles into it. So that's the whole idea behind having controlled access to these things.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Just a couple of points. Someone also made the point that in an 18-kilometer tunnel that's under the sea floor, there's also potential concerns with exhaust. That's fair enough.
Yes.
I'm sure there's ways to mitigate that particular issue. But for instance, I've been in tunnels, and these were in the United States on the West Coast, so like Oregon, Washington, what have you, where some of the longer tunnels that I was in, they were like divided highways though, right? Just the same thing if I go down Pitts Memorial Drive. I can keep one direction from another by simply having a barrier in between the two, which is possibly a very helpful mitigation of head-on vehicle collisions if and when that was part of the approach that they would take. What do you think?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I mean, that helps eliminate one aspect of cross-traffic accidents. But if you have rear-end situations, right? I mean, you've traveled around and on larger highways. I mean, let's take the Toronto 401. I mean, there's nothing to see a 40, 50, 60, 80 car pileup from rear-ending. So all of that it happens, and then there's a fire erupts. And how do you get the 9 kilometers? Let's say it happens halfway point, right? So is 9 kilometers back to safety, right? So the amount of fumes that your system, your ventilation system, can probably handle normal usage of vehicle exhaust and stuff, but it's not going to be able to handle a 5, 6, 10, 14 car fire of all this plastics and rubbers and everything else erupting, right?
It's a fair observation. I guess there's not a whole lot of difference between a pileup on the 401 versus a pileup in a tunnel, because you can't get out of there no matter if we're talking about open air.
You can go to the shoulder of the road and go down over the road and find safety. All the fumes are going to go into the atmosphere above, not into the tunnel roof and be trapped there, right?
Yeah, I don't know about ventilation that could handle whether it be a fire of a vehicle versus just general exhaust from a vehicle. It's fair concerns. And as I was saying when I talked to Adam about this stuff earlier, it'd just be nice to know, because if you see the report, they don't lean in on exhaust and or safety or collisions or those things. They basically just say it's the least expensive option. And I'm sure, as the points that you're making here are part of the calculation, because it could be pretty potentially dangerous situation if and when there was these types of collisions that you speak to. So that's a good point.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I didn't read the report either. So it's. I would imagine though that the safety issue would be one of the foremost, applicable things here, right? I mean, nobody wants to see something like that happen, right?
Of course not.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we're geographically situated where it doesn't make a whole lot of easy application to get us connected, right?
The geographical challenge is real for a variety of things: transportation and supply chains, and the cost of getting in and out of here on just about every front. I appreciate this, Tony. Good points.
All right. Okay. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye. Yeah, I am going to really try to get someone from Arup who was involved in this particular report to come on. We can break it down for dollars and cents and the option of railway tunnel versus any other mode of transportation. I'm happy to do it. See if we can't get someone. Let's go to line number 4. PJ, you're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Patty.
Morning.
Good morning. In response to some of the other callers talking about the medical situation, fair enough. I'm calling from Nova Scotia. Same issue here. But, in contrast to that, I look at some of the government decisions, like last week, to increase the military pay by up to 20% for everybody.
Yep.
It's shocking when you look at the number of people in the military, for example, make $100,000. They're going to get a $15,000 bump in their salary. Sure, in the military, there's lots of people that need a bump. Lower level people, But if you make 150,000, do you think you need a $15,000 to $20,000 bump in your salary today? It's a question.
Well, the bump is only for the lowest ranks.
No, everybody in the military is getting an increase either from 20 to 8 or down to 8%. So the head of the military, who's making probably $300,000 a year, is going to get an 8% bump. People making $100,000 are getting a 15% bump. People in Newfoundland, the average salary in Newfoundland is about $33,000. So when you look at someone making $100,000, it sounds to me the government is being a bit generous with $15,000 pay bumps when we have so many domestic issues, homelessness, medical issues across the countries, right? I think that was in relation to the medical. But I wanted to talk to you today about the Churchill Falls 2.0.
Just one second before we move on, though, PJ, because it's an important conversation. So for whether it be privates, ordinary sailors, the junior aviators, that's a 20% pay increase. The country's military is short something almost like 16,000 members. So they've had, changed the rules for entry requirements. They've put forward these pay bumps just to try to staff up what is the full complement of members of the military. In addition to that, all of a sudden now we're fast tracking towards spending 5% of GDP on defense spending, which would include obviously pay for members of the military. So I guess it's all part and parcel. We're on the roadmap to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $150 billion on military. $150 billion. Currently, we spend about 42. Even the increase to a full 2% of GDP brings us over 60 billion, and we're on the roadmap to 150 billion. So whether it be
yes, at what cost? At what cost to all the other programs and all the other Canadians? Something's going to come to roost. Someone's going to pay for this down the road.
Oh yeah.
So to give people pay raises just for the sake of spending money to get up to the NATO spending limit doesn't make sense. You can spend money on military where it's needed, buy new equipment, buy planes, submarines, et cetera, et cetera. But to give people a pay bump, some of them, yes, deserve it. The lower ranks definitely deserve it because they're stuck in their positions for various reasons beyond their control. But if you're making $150,000 a year, which thousands are in the military, by the way, do you deserve $15,000 more of taxpayers' money? It's a question. So I wanted to talk, though, about Churchill Falls 2.0. That's more of a concern for me today. And okay. I think Danny Williams wrote the Prime Minister last week a very good letter. And what's surprising me about this is that it doesn't appear to be many Newfoundlanders behind Danny Williams explaining what a bad deal this Churchill Falls 2.0 can turn out to be. And, the architect of this is a fellow by the name of Michael Sabier, and now he is Mark Carney's right-hand man in Ottawa. He signed this deal, in the MOU, and then he left Montreal, and now he's working for Carney in Ottawa as the Secretary of the Cabinet. So it's a remarkable development, and I'm just so surprised that Newfoundlanders, they get behind a lot of causes, fishery causes. They march on Confederation building time after time. But in a situation like this, another 50-year deal with Hydro-Quebec, no support. Outstanding, remarkable lack of initiative there.
Yeah, Michael Sabia is the clerk of the Privy Council, which is the most senior public sector bureaucrat in the country. So given that he's moved from the CEO...
Patty, on that topic, you're right, he is that, but he's also the Secretary of the Cabinet. He's at Cabinet meetings.
Yeah, but that's part and parcel with being the clerk of the Privy Council.
I know, but it's the highest ranking civil servant position in this country.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yeah. So he was the architect of this MOU on behalf of Hydro-Quebec, and he was doing his happy dance in Montreal when they were doing the announcement at the rooms. He didn't bother to come to Newfoundland because he was ecstatic about what he had just signed off on.
Right.
And
just a question, though, PJ. What do you think is the implication of Mr. Sabia moving from Hydro-Quebec to the position of the clerk and secretary of the cabinet? Like, what does that mean to you?
I wouldn't venture to guess, but I consider it a highly, highly unusual move.
For what reason? I'm just curious. I mean, it's not like Mr. Sabia has not worked for the government before in very senior positions. So what exactly do you think that means for whether it be the deal or us or Hydro-Quebec or otherwise? I'm just curious.
It's to be determined. It just seems to me to be a highly unusual development in this situation. But regardless of that, the matter remains is that Newfoundland is signing into another 50-year arrangement here without the independent study and analysis that, is needed. And Danny Williams is right on this, and I'm surprised there's not more support for him because he seems to be championing this on his own for the most part. But when there's, hundreds of thousands of Newfoundlanders that have lived through the Churchill Falls 1.0, to go through this again is just mind-boggling.
Even though this is remarkably different from the 69 contract. And I don't think it's fair to say Daniel Williams is the only voice out there in opposition to. I mean, we've had the David Vardys and Gabe Gregory's and Sullivan's. I mean, there's lots of people out there who are speaking about this contract. But one of the arguments that I'm not entirely sure makes a whole lot of sense to me is if Hydro-Quebec says they got a great deal, Michael Sabia says they got a great deal, Premier Legault says they got a great deal, of course they say that. Because they wouldn't sign on to something to go back to the province of Quebec and say, well, we just signed a crappy deal. I mean, it's the same reason why Fury and Parsons and Jennifer Williams and others on this side are saying it's a good deal is because that's what people do when they sign a contract. If there's not a mutually beneficial component to it, then there is no deal. So I'm not surprised that everyone in Quebec thinks they made a great deal. But I will say, opposition parties in Quebec think they've got a terrible deal. So again, some of this is just political grandstanding and posturing as much as it is an actual commentary on the quality of the negotiations, the quality of the MOU, and the fast tracking to these 10, 12 definitive agreements.
Yeah, well, I can sum it up by this, and I'll let you go to other callers.
Okay.
Quebec Hydro has guaranteed to have a 6-cent kilowatt rate for the next 50 years. That is a remarkable thing for them to have accomplished, and it's going to be at the expense of Newfoundland, Labrador all over again.
I appreciate the time, PJ, all the way from Nova Scotia. Thanks for doing it.
Okay, bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, let's get a break in. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 6. Good morning, John. You're on the air.
Morning, Patty.
Morning.
I got a little opinion this morning. I was recently out in boat for the recreational cod fishery.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say I witnessed probably the most appalling and disgraceful waste of codfish I've ever seen in my 69 years.
What did you see?
Well, we saw probably thousands of pounds of cod tossed away, floating on the surface. Completely waste, not brought in for anybody else to use. Earlier in the day, there are several longliners in the cove staying for capelin. Of course, you know that cod feeds on capelin, and the cod is brought up as a bycatch. And the rule, according to the Department of Fisheries, is that it has to be tossed away.
So you're talking about cod that was thrown overboard by a seiner?
Exactly.
By crew on a seiner, okay.
So my question is, if I go out and boat today, Patty, and come in with 6 fish, then I have probably $1,000 fine. I have my gear taken away and up to a year ban for having 1 extra fish. But yet, the Department of Fisheries deems it okay that thousands of pounds of cod can be tossed away every day by every capelin seiner that's out there. Doesn't seem right to me. Seem right to you?
No. To start with, our bycatch rules are brain dead. They just really, truly are. I mean, I would think that most people, with the gear they're utilizing to go after one species or another, are not purposely trying to catch a salmon. They're not purposely trying to catch a cod if you're going for capelin. So, like in other places in this world, bycatch rules are much more fundamental. If I catch something that I don't have a license for, I bring it to the wharf, I report it to the officials, I get paid a nominal fee, and it gets put into the food chain. Not thrown back into the pond, or not thrown back into the ocean so it could just die. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. If I catch a couple of wild salmon in my gill net, then if I can just bring it to shore and someone gets to eat it, then that makes a bit more sense to me than just throwing it overboard.
I agree 100%. We got lots of people in our province. We have senior citizens who can't get out and boat anymore. We have people with disability. We have personal care homes. Thousands of people who could make use of that codfish instead of watching it float away and sink to the bottom.
Absolutely.
Terrible. I have my friends and I shot video, just mile after mile on the surface, just dead codfish floating there. It's not blaming the longliners because they're doing what the regulation tells them to do, and Department of Fisheries are there making sure that they do that. But I think it's time that we change that process. I mean, this is absolutely total and reprehensible waste.
Because the fish has been caught. It's not like you just went out there without license and were just trying to illegally harvest one species or another. You're going after, in this case, the capelin. If you come up with some cod, you should be able to put that cod into the food supply chain, not just throw it overboard because you're afraid of getting busted based on really hard to understand bycatch rules. I'm with you 100%. I've talked about this forever and a day. Some of the very fundamental things we could see DFO do to make more sense are things like allow for the buddy up system. You know, save on fuel costs, save on emissions, save on everything. Bycatch, bring it in, sell it, someone eats it. It doesn't sound like a very complicated matter to me.
Me either. I mean, we're back in the dark ages when it comes to our rules concerning bycatch.
Yep.
Just a point of view. I've seen in my hometown people catch a tuna as a bycatch. It has to be sunk. It can't be brought in for people to use. It's heinous what we see out there on the water every day.
And just one tuna could be several hundred pounds of food.
Absolutely, 500 or 600 pounds usually.
Yep.
So it's just heartbreaking when you're out on the water and this is what you see, and you're out there. We get 3 days a week where you can go out. You come out of town. You might have one day because of the wind, and then you see thousands of pounds of cod that's floating on the surface that somebody has thrown overboard because they're directed to throw it over.
It's a fair point, and one that we should be making more and more, because I think you mentioned like long-term care facilities or at a food bank or in a hospital or on somebody else's kitchen table. Anything is better than it floating dead on the surface of the ocean. There's no argument coming from me. I think you're 100% right, John.
I mean, you can go out there and harvest this fish yourself. I don't know if I'm allowed to take that fish out of the water. You don't know how long it's been sitting on the deck of a longliner, so you don't know if it's fit to eat or not.
That's right.
But terrible. I just wanted to point that out today, and I'm sure there's lots of people around the island, the same as me, who see this probably every day that the capelin fishery is on.
Yeah, and if it hasn't been treated properly and, immediately on ice and or slit the throat, and it's probably not fit to eat anyway.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Just absolute waste. That's the point I wanted to make to you today.
And I'm glad you did. Thanks for the call, John.
That's right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, for Kelly, Tom, and Ed in the queue, appreciate your patience. We'll be right back to speak with them, and then tons of show left for you. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 1. Kelly, you're on the air.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. I just wanted to speak to you about an issue that I've experienced in getting my blood tests done at the blood collection clinics in St. John's.
Okay.
And July 29th, I had booked my appointment online for 1:10 in the afternoon for Major's Path. I went there, and it was the clinic was blocked, and there wasn't even anywhere to sit down. After registering and just waiting, there was somebody came out from behind and said that they only had 4 phlebotomists on scheduled to be on for that day, and 2 were going to get off at 2:30. So they offered to reschedule us, and I was one of the ones that volunteered to be rescheduled. I was given an appointment card for August the 8th at 10:40 a.m., and I chose St. Clair's this time. And when I went there Friday morning for my appointment, the clerk advised that they couldn't find my appointment. And I was flabbergasted. I just said, you have to be joking. I have an appointment card, And they said they're not sure how the clerk booked it, or and I said, well, I don't know either. I'm here for my appointment. This is the second time, you know. So they said, well, you'll just have to wait for the next appointment, and they fit me in. I just wonder, like, what is going on with this system, because I know that other people are experiencing the same thing, especially the day that I was there for Major's Path Clinic, and the clerk said that the phone line that people call in to book those appointments are those agents are able to book the same appointments that we're booking for online. They had over 400 patients booked for that day, which is why they couldn't get everybody looked after that day. There's just something unacceptable going on with that system, and I've emailed client relations. I've emailed Minister Howell's office, and they just, say we're going to defer you to the appropriate management for review to get back to me. I don't expect an answer, but I actually do want an answer, like what is going on with this system. That's twice time lost for me. I have to go and get my blood collected. I know it's easy enough for people to say, well, you just get a private, blood collection. Come in, it's only $30, $40. But for me right now, that's a lot of money, and I know it is a lot of money for many others as well.
Well,
and,
I was certainly not going to reference you to private blood collection myself. The public system. So have things changed in the world of blood collection? Like, number one, I had to get some blood work done, and let's just say pick a random dates. If it was on the first of the month, the next appointment I could get anywhere, including the Waterford St. Clair's and the Health Sciences and Major's Path, was the 17th of the month. So that's an awful long wait for a very quick procedure that you would think could be done much quicker than that, on top of the hours of operation and the numbers of staff working. So, number one, has it changed dramatically? And so is this like a staffing issue, I suppose? It kind of sounds like it.
It is, and I know recently in social media I have seen posts from Newfoundland Health Services for a fully funded phlebotomist program. So they're going to take people and train them to collect blood. And from a conversation I had with an employee, they said that that's going to be a Band-Aid to fix the overall problem. Is they're going to be adding to their work demands, where they actually have to do lab work in addition to blood collection. So they're bringing in some more phlebotomists to do the frontline blood collection, and then putting others in the lab to process the samples.
Yeah, I mean,
there's something wrong with this booking system. Like, I know when I booked my July 29th appointment, I had to wait almost 2 weeks for that. And then that got rescheduled for August 8th. And again, like, I show up for my allotted appointment, and I'm like, we can't find your appointment. I was like, you have to be kidding me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Well, especially when you have a digital record of having booked the appointment. I did eventually go to Major's Path, and I had absolutely no problem. I was maybe in and out 15 minutes, maybe, something like that. The point that I was making is that if it was the first of the month and I was trying to book an appointment because I had a follow-up with my doctor already booked when I left the clinic, I had to reschedule it because I had to wait 17 days to get the blood work done. So it does, like everything else here, have a bit of a ripple effect, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to know, like, what's going on with this system. Is somebody looking at it to fix? There seems to be a disconnect between the phone agents and online booking. It shouldn't happen a second time for me to show up and, the first appointment, it was there. It was just that day they had over 400 patients booked for Major's Path that day for whatever reason. And I don't know. And I'm just wondering, like, they're opening up these new health centers, like, the old Costco building. There's another building down by Holy Sepulchre on Topsail Road that's going to be also a medical clinic. And I'm just wondering, are they going to include some blood clinic collection centers there as well? Because we need more. And another thing I'd like to see is the in-home blood collection to be included in MCP coverage. I know that you can claim it on your income tax return, but even if you had enough medical expenses to claim it, you're still only going to get 15% back. So it's not really, worth your while to claim it, in my opinion. But I just would like to see some of those services be included in MCP coverage, especially we have some patients who are homebound and they can't get out for a blood collection, so they're forced to pay this $30 or $40, for somebody to come in and take their blood.
Are there not programs for people who are housebound to get some of these services free, like to get a vaccine? I know some of that is absolutely covered by the public sector.
Yeah, that's community services, but they don't handle blood collection.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm hoping that somebody in government hears me and pulls my emails and gets back to me, because I actually do want to hear what's going on and what's being done to mitigate it.
I appreciate the topic and the time this morning. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you very much for listening.
You're welcome, Kelly. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, once I get there, I have no problem. I was a little bit surprised, because it's probably been a number of years since I've had some blood work done. But this go around, when I looked for the next available appointment in the afternoon, because I can't go in the morning, it was the first of the month, and the first appointment I could get was on the 17th, which seems like a long time for simply getting some blood work done. Anyway, I am going to take another call, but have you seen the video going around of an aggressive Chinese ship going after a Filipino ship, and then another ship caught in front of it? Like, is that real? Huge collision in the ocean, which is, I think, I ask because I just wonder, regarding the comments you made regarding artificial intelligence, it's hard to know whether or not what you see is real anymore. It's a spectacularly wild video, but have you seen it? And do we actually think it's real? I don't know, because one ship just jumping in front of the other to purposefully have a collision, which is wild stuff. Let's go to line number 2. Tom, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you this morning?
Very well, thank you, Tom. How about you?
Not too bad. Patty, you had a caller earlier this morning looking for a wheelchair, and I guess Dave gave my number. But before I get to that, I want to just make a quick comment about the gentleman from Nova Scotia who called about the pay raise for the military people. And I'd just like to remind everybody that there's only one job in this world, in Canada, where when you sign on the dotted line saying, I'm willing to go to work, that you say, I'm willing to give my life for my country, and that's for the military. Not for the police, not to take down the other uniformed services, not for the police, not for the fire department, not for emergency care workers, all of those people, and they do tremendous service. But they can walk off the job tomorrow. A person in the military walks off the job, they get court-martialed. So my comments about the pay raise, even though I was paid a poverty wage all the while I was in the military, I think it's more than deserving. And people have to remember that it is the only job in the world where you can be ordered to give up your life. Enough said about that. The call you had this morning, Patty, about the gentleman looking for the wheelchair, the power wheelchair. We don't have one right now, but a lady from Bay Verte called me, and she has 2 that are perfectly working, and she's willing to give them to me. The issue we have is getting them in from Bay Verte. So my main reason for calling you this morning is to see if it's anybody from the Bay Verte Peninsula, particularly a community called, I'm just running here now to my desk to check the name of the community. The community is called, Wild Cove on the Bay Verte Peninsula. If anybody is coming in from that area to St. John's and is willing to bring in a couple of power wheelchairs, I'm sure they'll help a couple of people. If they were to call your show, Dave will certainly give them my number, and we certainly would appreciate it.
Someone on the Bay Verte Peninsula is absolutely going to be able to help us out on this front. So Richard needs a wheelchair. We can get him one. We just need to get it into St. John's from that community. So please do indeed, if you're making that run today, tomorrow, sometime this week, and you got the truck that can accommodate, please help us out on this front. So give Dave Williams a call. We'll share some numbers with you, and I'm sure we're going to get this taken care of.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Tom. All the best.
Okay.
All right, there we go. So who's going to step up and do that? That'd be great. Let's take a break for the news. When we come back, plenty of show left for you. Don't go away.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 3. Good morning, Ed. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
How are you this morning?
Great today. Thank you. How about you?
That's good, boy. That's good. Now, I tell you, I just calling concerning the food fishery, so-called food fishery. How silly the rules and the regulations are. I think it's ridiculous. I'm out in the bay here now, going around a little boat. I've been on the go since 5 o'clock this morning. I went right around Conception Bay. I haven't got a fluffy fish to call me home. But anyway, that's beside the point. I just wanted to tell you, Paddy, a little story. What happened to me last summer. I was doing a bit of fishing, myself and my buddy. 2 senior citizens out in the speedboat. And I see this boat coming across the bay. It was in the midweek and the power fishery. And we were the only boat out in the bay at the time. I didn't see anybody. They came right out of the Gulf over in Patrick, and they come one bay line. Right direct for our boat. I said to my buddy, I said, look, coming. Anyway, we didn't think nothing of it. We didn't have nothing to hide. Anyway, they hauled up alongside of our boat and started shooting all crap and bull and all that. I said, boys, do you want to come aboard? Come aboard. And they come aboard. There was 4 of them. They had sidearms. They had all the gear. Anyway, they said, do you got any fish? I said, boy, we got a couple of tomcats down there in the 5-gallon bucket. And you're more than welcome to go have a look at them if you want. They went down, and sure enough, boy, they got a count. We ended up with 10 tomcats and 1 little flounder. They said, boy, you're over here. And I said, what? We didn't even know we had them in the bucket. They were that small. Anyway, he wrote me up and gave me a warning. And I said, okay, so that's it. We got to go in out. Yeah, you're going. Okay, see you later. 2 days later, I get some knock on my door, 8 o'clock in the morning. There's a big diesel dual-wheel pickup truck out for the door. 4 of them in the pickup. 4 of them. And they knock on my door, and they come, and I said, boys, what's going on now? And they said, no, nothing to worry about. They said, we just come to drop off your warning slip. Well, I said, where's our taxpayer dollars? Where are they going? Well, now I know. You could take that, put it in as a true story. What do you think of that, Betty?
I think it's ridiculous.
Oh, Tony, boys, I got to come in now. I got $50 worth of gas time. But we enjoyed the ride in the boat. But it's nice, to get a couple of cards. But there's nothing out there. Anyway. But I was listening to gentleman call there about 10, 15 minutes ago, and I just had to tell the story, right? How pathetic it is, really.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We had no trouble getting our card when we went out there a couple of weeks ago. No. Big as dogs, too. We got 15 in like 20 minutes.
No, that's right, and so did we. But that's like you said, you got to go in out of it. My God, the day is just there, right? I mean, at times we could have built our boat, sure, but then you got your fish for the rest of the year. You don't have to bother to come out in the windstorms and everything. Well, I tell you, I like those making up the rules and regulations. I'm an old schooler. I've been fishing well before the moratorium. I used to row off the beach in a rowboat with a little tub, and I'd fill that tub within an hour, 2 hours, and I had enough fish for the winter. And that was it. I was done. And now you got to go out in storms, rough weather, whatever. I don't know. It's really, really stupid whoever makes the rules. You take now during the week. I'm senior. I'm retired. I got me a bit of retirement. Invested in the little boat I got and everything. So I can't go out in the middle of the week when I get a half decent weather on that. I mean, bloody ridiculous. Anyway, that's our Canadian government. Hey,
And it's been like it for a long time. You know, every year we wait and wait and wait for the announcement, and it comes out, and it's the same thing year after year. 39 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and all the so-called regulations regarding bag limits and all the rest of it. I mean, it's not even an equal playing field across Atlantic Canada. I mean, I think people sort of misrepresent what goes on in Nova Scotia. They just simply have an increased bag limit from 5 to 10. They can't go out all the time whenever they want, that kind of stuff. But apparently there's going to be a revisiting of the rules sometime this fall. There's going to be some sort of consultations or what have you. I mean, they must hear the same things that I hear, is that the restrictions are just a bit much. I mean, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, how many people are able to even make those days, whether it be you work on the weekend or you're a rotational worker or the weather's bad, or there's a variety of things. So we'll see where we go from here. But, you know, it's the same thing every year and the same frustrations. It never stops.
It's not going to hurt, so I don't know.
I appreciate the call, Ed. Thanks a lot.
I wish more people would call in and tell their stories, because I'm sure there's a lot of them out there.
Well, there's another...
Anyway, I appreciate getting me the time, but I'm almost out of battery here now.
Okay, well, I appreciate your call. Thanks, Ed.
Okay, buddy. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, let's get another one before the break. Let's go to 5. Jonathan, you're on the air.
How's it going, Patty?
Excellent today. How about you?
Oh, not too bad. I think I'd like to be out and boat with Ed. I bet you could tell you some nice stories.
Yeah, no question.
Ed, I got a couple concerns about the forestry. I've been at it for 30 years. I'm actually third generation, and we've seen a lot of challenges over the years. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of small contractors that's, feeling the pinch, same as myself. But a few of them is like the Minister of Forestry and John Hogan's office. They're not even listening to our concerns. They don't even return no calls. Like, to running out of wood to cut, to they've had a shutdown now since the first part of July with no compensation, no nothing. Like, I got 12 men that's all sent home that hasn't been back to work since the first part of July. You know, you'd think that the government would step in or at least answer your calls, but I've actually left a message every day for months now on John Hogan's message machine there, and not even a phone call, nothing. So, you'd think that they care about small businesses here on the island.
Sure. I mean, I'll say this again, like I have countless times on this show, is even if you don't get the answer you want or you like, some sort of reply is warranted here. So if we've got, commercial operations that are shut down because, I guess there's a distinct risk by continuing with operations given the conditions, but even if there's just, some formula for compensation or not, a return call would be extremely helpful.
It definitely would. Like, you got a contractor there, Keith Morey. He got 2,000 meters left to do in the next year and a half. Like, he got 10 people employed. Like, he's been trying to get hold to him to try to get extra wood, and they haven't been returning his calls or trying to help him in any way. So I don't know where it's going to end. Like, I know since I've been at this, I've seen 25 small contractors that I know of personally that have give up into the forestry sector, and it's not easy with, like, heat pumps now are taking over for the firewood, and you think that the government would step in and help us, or at least call us to, to talk about our concerns or something. And I understand that we're shut down for fires, and I totally understand that. Like, a lot of people have lost their cabins and houses, and, I'm totally fine with being shut down, but you'd think that the government would, step in and help us. Like, I got 12 people home right now with no money coming in, so...
Yeah, we had an earlier call on it, and we've since invited representatives from the government to come on and see if they can't give us some answers to a pretty fundamental question. If the industry has been shut down since the 1st of July, what's the plan going forward? Because some of these operations don't recover from 2 months of lost logging during the summer months. So we'll see if we can get an answer right here on the show, Jonathan.
All right, that's perfect. And thanks a lot, Patty, for taking my call.
I appreciate your time. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye. Yeah, we'll see if we can't get an answer to that one. It's a fair question. It's the same thing when we're trying to get information as to whether or not, as pledged by the government, as to whether they're going to come to the aid, financially speaking, of folks who lost their homes, say, for instance, in Adams Cove. It's not me saying it. The government themselves said that they'd be here to help. How? We don't know. When? We don't know. We'll try to get the answers. Let's take a break. When we come back, Dave's also in the queue to talk about the recreational food fishery, and then you. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 1. Dave, you're on the air.
How you doing, Patty?
Doing okay, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, I guess. I'm just wondering about the food fishery and why are we treated different than the rest of the province? I don't understand that.
Me neither.
No, I don't understand it because, I know I've read a letter from Ottawa, the laws of fishery, and all the provinces, Atlantic province, was supposed to be treated the same. And here we are different. In Nova Scotia, you can go out any day of the week and catch your fish. I don't understand that, but we got picked up weekends here with the last 2 days now, been nothing only a storm, and people are out there in small boats trying to get a bit of fish. It don't make sense. But if you could go out all week and catch a fish, you can pick a day to go out any day you want, a nice day. But this stuff is ridiculous what they're doing here, and it's the Department of Fisheries got these laws made up. I don't understand this 15 fish boat garbage, I could take 3 people out, catch 15 fish, bring them in, take 3 more people out, get another 15 fish, which don't make sense.
Well, that's what people do. And it's important to note that this is directly from DFO, is that the 5 per person, 15 per boat is as much a policy suggestion, not a law. Right, so
no, it's not a law.
No, if I have 5 people in a boat that can accommodate 5 people, we can all bring in 5.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
but we can't do it here.
Well, we can.
We can, but the fisheries will make trouble for you. But in a court of law, they'll throw it out. They want the law. The law don't say nothing about that. But we can't do it here. The fisheries stop you for that.
Yeah, and once again, from DFO themselves, they have said that it's there for this reason, that if people are going to abuse it and, come in with 10 or come in with 25 when 5 people in the boat, then they reserve the right to shut it down. So you're not going to get a fine. You're not going to go to court if you get so-called caught doing it. But that's what they say, is if people are identified as abusing it. But, I think you made the important point right off the top here. I personally know people who are now retired. They got time. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if the weather is good enough to be on the water, they're out there all day. They go out and they get it. They come back in. They offload. They go back out. They're at it all day. They were kind of reporting to me as if it was some sort of good thing that 3 of them on one day brought in 70 fish. That's the kind of stuff that gets all the rest of us in trouble.
That's abusing it.
Absolutely.
That's a different situation.
Yep.
Yeah, but but like I said, I can take 3 people out and bring in 15 fish, and then taking 3 more people, I'm going to get another 15 fish. If I had room in my boat for 6 people, why can't we bring in 5 fish each? That's what I can't understand.
I get it. I'm with you.
Yeah. And if there was, you could go out any day of the week, just say, to get a fish. You would look for the weather and say, oh, God, this is a lovely day to go out and get a fish. But there wouldn't be half so many boats out there, you take the day now and yesterday, it does not fit to be out in boat. If the wind is strong and everything else, so it don't make sense. People risking their lives get a few fish. It don't make sense, And the Department of Fisheries got these laws made up on their own, and why would we be different than the rest of the provinces? I don't understand that. Why Newfoundlanders are letting that go? I don't understand that either. But another little subject I got to mention to you. I was a supervisor with Fishery Products International for 14 years. During capelin season, we used to have about 6 weeks' work on capelin. In one plant, now this is only one plant, we would have 3 gray containers by each table in the plant. At the end of 10-hour shift, them beds would be filled with small fish, little fish, 5, 6, 7 inch, 8. Some people have come in on the streets and took out something big enough for Tom guys. That was 3 tons of fish in 10 hours, young fish, dumped in our hoppers. This was happening all around the island, capelin season. And you say, well, what happened to our fish? Think about it. The fish that was dumped, that's on the land. Now, the fishermen dumped thousands of more tons over their nets, little floating away from the boats. And we blamed the draggers, we blamed foreign ships, we blamed everything besides ourselves. We destroyed the fish. That's what happened to our country back in the 70s. We all give up fishing. But like I said, I've seen a lot of it going on, but the Department of Fisheries would come in and look in those containers, and they wouldn't open their mouth about nothing about destroying the fish, the yellow baby fish. I've seen it. I've been there for 14 years at that, and I knows all about it. But that's the way it goes. We're always different. And another thing, too, Patty, this time of the year now, the fishermen got gill nets out. They're catching the mother fish that's full of spawn. I've hauled them up myself, big fish that would blow it up, and I let them go again because I thought it was a crime to destroy that big mother fish. And they're catching them in gill nets. Now this time you're destroying the fish again. So how could you win? You can't win in this province, you know. But that's it.
I appreciate the time, Dave. Thanks for calling this morning.
That's all right, buddy. Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye. That's on that one. Let's keep rolling. Line number 2. Stephen, you're on the air.
Hi, Patty. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Patty, I called in last week, and Dave was good enough just to reach back out to me. Just a quick note. On Thursday of last week, I believe at 2 p.m., when I was driving down the road, there was an emergency service announcement, I guess, that took over the broadcasting of the local radio stations, and that was to advise people that there was an evacuation order in for Salmon Cove and Ocrapick Cove, and that people would then be directed to go to, I believe, some station in Carbonear where they could go and get relief services, etc. The simple note was that was a computer-generated voice, Patty. I, as a Newfoundlander who's been to Ocrapick Cove 100 times, could not understand the pronunciation of Ocrapick Cove, or for that matter, Salmon Cove. I thought that whether that voice is being generated by a entity in Ottawa or here in Newfoundland, that somehow they need to alter that because I just could not understand what they were announcing.
And it's so unnecessary. You know, I get why people are going to rely on these large language models or ChatGPT or artificial intelligence in general, but it's going to be a problem for our critical thought. It's going to be a problem for things as fundamental as evacuation orders because of wildfires. Someone has the capacity at the department to call here, to get on with the producer, to record an ad with their own voice, understanding how to pronounce Ocrapick Cove.
Absolutely. And, I mean, further to that, you and I have a common friend who has a family home in Ocrapick Cove. When that announcement was made, I called him, and he said the same. He kind of knew what they were suggesting, but it wasn't in print. There was no way to check it immediately. So, whoever the entity is who was handling that, they need to go back to the drawing board and get a human voice on that, because in such a important announcement, I mean, people need to understand what's being dictated, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So between our mutual friend Spot in Ocrapick Cove, our mutual friend Spot in Western Bay, some good times.
Yes. Yeah, no, terrible scenes, Patty. I suspect the fire's now headed for Ocrapick Cove. As of last night, Western Bay looked like it was well burned, and just praying that there's some relief out there. Terrible situation.
Fingers crossed. Some of the visuals are devastating, and the size of some of these fires, people just don't really have the context. For instance, 4,900 hectares in the Kingston fire would stretch from Signal Hill to the southeast tip of Windsor Lake to Rotary Sunshine Park and Bowring Park.
Incredible. I saw that kind of pictorial put out on Instagram yesterday. Yeah, all of St. John's is on fire. Put that in perspective.
Exactly right. Bravo to those fighting the fires, and finger crossed that we get some cooperative weather and they can get these things back under control. Devastating. There's thousands of people have been evacuated. Thousands.
Incredible. Patty, look, I'll let you go, but on a more upbeat note, Newfoundland just beat Nova Scotia in men's rugby sevens on the last play of the game, 17-14. Go Rock, go.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Thanks, Steve.
My pleasure. See you, Patty.
See you. Bye-bye. Yeah, I mean, why do we have to do something like generate an evacuation notice through anything but someone's actual voice? I mean, you can send us the information, the producer can read it, record it, and broadcast it. Let's see here. Let's take a break. Don't go away.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 3. Say good morning to the Mayor of Harbour Grace. That's Don Coombs. Mayor Coombs, you're on the air.
Hi, Paddy. How are you?
Great today. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well, buddy.
Good.
And this beautiful day, good for us, and not so good for people fighting the fires. So
not at all.
Thoughts and prayers are with them. Paddy, I was giving you a call. Officially, Amelia's back. She's in the property in the presence of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. A lot of work done over the last few months and the last a week especially, and I just got the official word. The press release just come out. So officially, Amelia is back in Harbour Grace. She's with the RCMP, and now we got to get together and after the investigation is finished, see what we can do together, put back together. She's in parts Paddy, and the RCMP officer informed me, and I saw her on Friday night. It's clean cuts, so we're going to reach out to Lupin and Morgan and look forward to getting her back up where she should be. So
do
I
we
want to thank you in the media for keeping it in the media, Paddy, because I think that was a big part of the investigation.
Yeah, well, we're happy to play a minor role in this. So do we know anything about who took the statue, where it was found, any of those types of things?
It's found, from what I understand, it was found over in Trinity Bay. There was a lead call in that I started on with the RCMP last Tuesday night, and it came to fruition on Friday afternoon with the RCMP called me, and they had it in their possession at that time.
So, in addition to that,
so the investigation continues, and because it's still theft, so that's an RCMP issue, and just want to thank them for their hard work and getting her back.
And bravo. I don't know if you can answer this or want to answer this, because there was a pretty significant reward. If I remember correctly, it was maybe $25,000 or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
did
you're correct. Yeah.
Did a tip lead to this?
Well, when I got the call last Tuesday, it was the reward was brought up. Now, I'm not familiar, Paddy, with how the reward is paid. I know we've got donors to do the reward, but this was in the early stages, and I spoke to the people that requested that last week, and I have to keep them in confidence, of course, and how this is done. This is new to me, and I'd say to a lot of municipalities, so I'm going to find that out, but it's still under investigation, and the RCMP Sergeant Cadet and her team have done great work, and now I got questions with them, and I stopped into the station before calling you today, and the questions remain, like when do we get her back? How long is it going to take for us to get it? How does this reward process works? And probably the best ones for me to speak on that is Crime Stoppers, because they're used to doing all this. But it's a question that you asked, and I wish I had more information for you on it, Paddy, but I don't.
And when you do, feel free to share.
Yeah, I will.
Appreciate the time. Thanks for doing it.
And Paddy, thanks for the coverage too on the fires down shore. I'm away at the office here today, and I spoke to a lady, and she had lost her home in Small Point. And it's devastation. Thank you to our firefighters, and thank you for everybody for making that story. And let's hope for some rain and make that happen. But for the people of Harbour Grace, the province, the region, we're happy to have Amelia back.
No doubt you are. Appreciate the update, Mayor Coombs. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Paddy.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right, that's a bit of good news. Let's go to line number 4. Caller, you're on the air.
Is this for me, Paddy?
That's you.
Yeah, Paddy, I wanted to talk about the MOU and specifically about the power purchase agreement. I listened to I saw the announcement of the MOU with Uri and Legault, and they announced 6 cents for the power and $18 billion in the first 18 years. And I thought that was pretty good at the time because I really didn't know anything about it. But not long after it, I saw a post online where Michael Savier was being interviewed by a reporter in Quebec. And it was outdoors somewhere. It wasn't at a news conference or anything. And the reporter asked him what he thought of the MOU. And his response was, any time I can get 4 cent power for 51 years, I'm going to grab it. And that comment stuck with me because I couldn't understand. And Savvy is a well-respected man. He's not a politician. So I believed him more so than I believed our government. So I decided to try to figure out how that could be. And I did figure it out. And the bottom line is Newfoundland is getting 4 cents for the power, and Newfoundland is getting 12 billion of the 18 billion in the first 18 years. And Fury involved knew this when they made that announcement. So I consider the MOU to be the grand deception.
Can you just repeat what you just said about who gets what money?
Newfoundland Hydro will get 4 cents for the power, and they will get 12 billion of the 18 billion. The rest of it goes back to Hydro-Quebec. And I have yet to hear a politician in this province, whether it be opposition or government, say that Newfoundland is only getting 4 cents for power, not 6 cents. It's absolutely disgusting.
Where's that information coming from?
It's coming from how Churchill Falls is structured. Hydro-Quebec owns a third of Churchill Falls. As a matter of fact, Patty, what I wanted to do was give your listeners the Coles notes on how this could be. How Hydro-Quebec can pay 6 cents for the power, but Newfoundland only gets 4 cents. So is that okay with you if I could just give a summary of how that works?
Well, my understanding is that there was a couple of confusing things from the announcement itself. For starters, when they said $1 billion a year for 17 years, adding up to 17 billion between now and 2041, that's okay if we're talking about an annualized average, because in the first year, it's not that. It's an average of by the time we get to 2041. And I don't know where that information comes from, that some of those $17 billion don't flow directly to this province as opposed to some that goes back to Quebec. Like, I don't even know where that comes from, to be honest.
Well, the way Churchill Falls works, it's owned by a Crown corporation called CFLCO.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
And Hydro-Quebec owns 1/3 of CFLCO. And Newfoundland Hydro, or Nalcor, or whatever they call it these days, owns 2/3 of CFLCO. And CFLCO pays out all of its profits to its 2 shareholders. So the MOU says Hydro-Quebec is going to pay 6 cents for the power. So Hydro-Quebec pays CFLCO 6 cents for the power out of one hand. That's all profit to CFLCO. So CFLCO then turns around and pays out that profit to its 2 shareholders. Hydro-Quebec owns 1/3, so they get 1/3 of the 6 cents back, which is 2 cents. And Newfoundland Hydro gets 4 cents because they own 2/3. So the bottom line is Hydro-Quebec pays 6 cents to CFLCO on one hand, gets 2 cents back in the other hand, so it only costs them 4 cents. And Newfoundland Hydro gets 4 cents. That's the way I understand it.
And you might be right. That's not how I understand it, but I can very quickly get confirmation of that one, no problem. I mean, my understanding is the average cost going from 0.2 cents per kilowatt hour, annualized average between now and 41 will become 5.9 cents per kilowatt hour. Revenue between now and 41, $17 billion. So then they talk about how that's going to increase based on escalator clauses, which were not part of the 69 contract, which has been the bugaboo that everybody in the province has shared. So those monies increase. By 2044, to be $2 billion per year on average. Then by 2060, $6 billion. That's where they come up with that $225 billion number, which also floated a few times in the conference. It went from 200 to 225 to 235. So there was a lot of numbers floating around that are pretty monumental to try to wrap your mind around. But I will get an absolute confirmed piece of information regarding 5.9 cents versus 4 cents, as you've articulated here this morning. Happy to do. Important point.
Well, Patty, that's like you're getting into the weeds of the MOU, and I tried to stay out of the weeds and look at the big picture here. The MOU, they're going to pay $6 billion, and we're getting $18 billion, which is only an advance, by the way. We got to pay that $18 billion back in later years. This whole deal is just absolutely incredibly stupid.
I think the only place for me to operate is in the weeds, because if we just take it based on headlines, then we probably will not have a firm understanding of a hugely complicated arrangement that is 4 different major projects wrapped into one MOU, which also makes it extremely difficult to get into it. We're talking about the Upper Churchill, we're talking about Gull Island, we're talking about 2 major transmission projects. So I think we have to get into the weeds if we're actually going to figure out exactly what's what here.
Well, Patty, I think the main reason that Hydro-Quebec is doing this is for Churchill Falls Power. All the rest of this peripheral stuff, sure, they're going to do that, and they want to do it. But put it all together, and all these projects are not going to produce as much power as Churchill Falls does. And if Hydro-Quebec can get Churchill Falls locked in for 51 years at 4 cents, they're laughing all the way to the bank.
It really feels like, and this was leading into the announcement of the MOU, I follow along with the Quebec media on the hydro issues because it's always going to be a concern here. And it really felt like their prime motivation here was Gull. That's what they need. They need that additional 2,000 megawatts. They talked about all these projects that have come forward that they have had to put on hold because they couldn't satisfy the power requirements. So leading into this, it always sounded, coming directly from Sabia, coming directly from Hydro-Quebec, coming directly from the province itself, saying they needed that additional power, and they pointed consistently at Gull Island.
Yes, but Gull Island is going to cost 12 to 14 cents, so I've read. And here's Churchill Falls, going to get it for 4 cents. If Hydro-Quebec loses Churchill Falls, they're in big doo-doo.
But they're in no position to ever lose Churchill Falls. That's one thing that does not happen in 2041, is so many people think that all of a sudden we own 100% of it. We don't. 2041 was the end of a contract based on price. The equity stakes do not change.
Yeah, right, but Newfoundland Hydro owns 2/3 of it.
Yeah, I just said.
Shareholder.
The equity stake in 41 was not scheduled to change based on the 69 contract and this MOU.
Yes, but
okay.
The majority of shareholders are going to call it dead.
Points understood and taken. I will confirm 4 to 6 cents ASAP. Now that's going to be on the top of my mind all afternoon, so I'll see if I can get that figured out for all of us. And I appreciate you making time for the show this morning.
You're welcome, Patty. Thanks for the time.
Take good care. Bye-bye. All right, final break of the morning. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 1. Pat, you're on the air. Hi, Pat.
Hello.
You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello there. I'll put him on hold, see if we can get something going on. Let's see, line number 2. Rob, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty.
Morning.
I just want to give a shout out there. Like, I'm out in Steel Cove here, and so we got the fire out in Holyrood pretty much. It's contained and everything like that. But the looky-loos that are coming up here, and they're throwing their trash around all over the place. I already took 2 garbage bags up today, up in what they call the head, and just stop throwing your trash around. There's no need of it.
Absolutely not. Someone sent me an interesting email regarding even just say Churchill Park or Churchill Square. Last time I was there, you could notice it quite clearly that there was a lot of trash around. But if I'm a store, if I'm a retailer, I'm going to take a bit more pride in how my shop front looks. So I think between individuals, stop throwing your garbage on the ground. And for companies, put out a garbage can, empty it frequently. And if there is garbage in front of your shop, clean it up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just, there, you see pizza boxes and all Tim Hortons cups and all this stuff strewn around. There's me and another fella here from the community. We clean it up. We try to keep it cleaned up as much as we can. But still, just keep it in your truck until you go home, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, it's not a complicated world, right? There's a way to avoid throwing garbage on the ground. It's as simple as don't do it. And every single spring, when we talk about the amount of litter that gets revealed when the snow goes away, is people keep saying to me, what about the big fast food restaurants or the big coffee companies for them to be responsible for cleaning up? Look, they sold you the burger and the coffee. They didn't sell you something to throw on the ground. It's individuals make the choice to throw stuff on the ground, not the companies that sold you the cup.
No, true enough. But, and especially now, like people are throwing water bottles and stuff like that. It refracts the light, and everything's dry as a tinderbox out there now. And a bit of refraction from that, it's just like magnifying glass going on to everything.
Absolutely. There was a report last week where someone picked up a glass bottle that was full of dry grass in an effort, I suppose, to start a fire, which is, it's not only when we boil it back down to what is or what is not common sense. Some of that's just straight up criminal, plain and simple.
It is. It's absolutely horrible that people are thinking that, they can just go around, nothing's going to happen. Because you were out in Alberta too, and me too. I went through the 16 fire, and this is just craziness. We've never seen this heat and this dryness out here.
Like, I can't recall every single summer of my life, but for me, it really feels drier for an extended amount of time that I have not experienced. Like, when's the last drop of rain we ever had? And even when we had that last drop of rain, everything's so dry that got absorbed in a heartbeat.
Yeah, no, that's right. No, and it was just a complete downpour, so it was only ran off anyways. And, like I said, we haven't been through this much before.
Doesn't feel like it. And all we can hope for is maybe a little bit weather cooperation. And hopefully, and I know people are complaining about the extent of the fines that have been proposed, but if it keeps people from lighting fires, then good enough for me. If you want to avoid getting fined, don't light a fire.
Yeah, well, if I see anybody lighting a fire, I'm going to go punch them in the face.
I appreciate the time this morning. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Patty.
Take care. See you, Rob. Bye-bye. And just had an email, 10 minutes ago, where someone says that they were walking behind someone down, what was the name of the street? Anyway, it was a street here in the city of St. John's, and they were, within eyesight of them. The person in front of them flicked their lit cigarette butt onto the easement, which was covered in grass. By the time they got to the easement, it was on fire. It's hard to know what to say about some of that stuff. All right, good show today. Big thanks to all hands, to all the callers, listeners, emailers, tweeters. You're all right. We will indeed pick up this conversation again tomorrow morning, right here on VOCM and Big Land FM's Open Line. On behalf of the producer, David Williams, and your news host, Sarah Strickland, I'm your host, Paddy Daly. Have yourself a safe, fun, happy day. We'll talk in the morning. Bye-bye.